What's going on, fellas? This is Mike D, Mr. Double Down on You with another episode of Black Fathers Now. Now, dig this. I'm going to tell you, this is actually a special episode for me because this is representing the home team. This is representing Augusta, Georgia. And on this episode, I have a familiar face and a familiar voice that those who've been around Augusta, who've been around basketball, who've been around Duke basketball, who've been around the NBA, if you've been around in those circles, you'll know who this guy is. But I'll tease it a little bit. So this is a brother who's a husband to his high school sweetheart and father of two daughters. He reached the zenith of basketball by playing for one of the most storied programs in college basketball history, Duke University, and then getting drafted number 14th overall in the 1999 NBA draft. But guess what? That's not the end of the story. Now you can see him as the head of William Avery Basketball Academy, and the brother's actually gone back to school. So he's back and forth to Duke University to finish up his degree, but he's impacting the world in a very different manner, but he's using all these experiences that he's had to kind of build upon that and do that. So fellas and the ladies listening too, because y'all like to tune in to what we talk about, let's welcome my man, homeboy from Augusta, Georgia, Westside High School representing. Let's welcome Mr. William Avery to Black Fathers Now. What's up, brother?
What's up, man? Thanks for having me, Mike.
Man, no doubt, man. I thank you we've been trying to set this thing up for a while, so I appreciate you for taking time to chop it up, man.
Yeah.
I guess that's
finally got here, man. Finally got here. Better late than never.
What you talking about, man? I guess the social distancing and the quarantine stuff opens up windows for us to have the time to talk, right?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, man, for sure. And so before we jump into your journey, before we jump into your story, I always like to have the brothers give shout outs, because who are we without our village, without those that allow us to become or build into who we become in life? So get a shout out to your village, man, to your people.
Yeah, I just like to shout out my family first and foremost for their support, especially on my latest journey, going back to school, as you mentioned. It's been a tough year, and they've been right there with me, man, the whole time. And also my neighborhood, Sand Hills, for continue to inspire me to be great, always, being supportive, always willing to help with things that with ideas that I have, going back to the neighborhood and doing just recently when this pandemic first hit. They allowed me to set up in front of the community center and feed the kids, and the adults were really good in getting the word out, to the kids, and just so those to my family and my neighborhood growing up.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up for sure, man. Got to give a shout out to the home team. And as we say home team, we're talking about Augusta, Georgia, right? And you are a brother who literally reached the zenith of basketball achievement. I mean, when you think about the guys on the playgrounds and all of that stuff, those that think they're halfway decent, the goal is get to the NBA. You know what I'm saying? They're like, yo, I'm gonna go to the league. I'm gonna go to the league. You actually got there, So talk to us a little bit about your journey growing up, and, at what point did you realize that you really had something special as it pertains to basketball?
Well, I grew up around basketball, the neighborhood games when I was young, when I was really young, like around 5, 6, were in my grandmother's backyard. My grandfather, my maternal grandfather, was a sergeant in the Army and coached the Army team for some years. And my mother and father both actually played at Westside High School, where we went. So they played. So they was always back there playing. So I picked up the game naturally, and I was around it a lot. But the thing that took me to the next level was my aunt got a job at May Park Recreation Center. And growing up, single parent household, my aunt had to watch me after school. And so she had got this job at the community center at May Park. So I would have to get off the school bus in the Sand Hills neighborhood, get on the city bus. Back then the bus station was on Green Street. I want to say Green Street. And
I remember.
Transfer to the 4th Street bus, and it would put me out right at May Park. So let this resonate. I'm 8 years old,
Mm.
going from school bus to city bus,
Wow.
down there. So I'm down directing it because that's the only way, she could watch me. So I'm down here doing that, and I'm in the gym shooting around, and longtime firefighter, just retired, by the name of Donald McGahee. He sees me shooting, and he's practicing his team. And he's like, hey, man, you want to join this team? I really didn't know, because I did know everything cost money at that time. And my mom was, busting her butt trying to take care of my sister and I, so she was in school and working. And, so I didn't know if we would have the money to do it. So I asked my aunt, she's like, hey, yeah, you can do it. I don't know if they waived the fee because she worked there or whatnot, or, but long story short, I joined that team. I'll never forget it. We were named the Hawks. My first time playing organized basketball. I was 8 in a league of 9 and 10-year-olds.
So you were playing up. You're a young kid playing up. Okay.
Yeah. And, right away out the gate, I was the best player on the team and maybe even in the entire league. I remember we would lose games like 15-13. I have all 13. So then I knew I measured up to my peers at that point. So one thing about that season, which I love that it happened to me, we almost lost every game. Maybe maybe we did lose every game. I know it was a really bad season. And the whole thing, I was like, how can I get to the next level? Because I never forget during the championship game of the entire county, the coach, Coach Bo Harrison, who a lot of people know, who's been around a long time. Donald was not going to coach next year, so Bo had already talked to me about playing with him. He let me sit on the bench with his team during the championship. And they had beat all of us down at May Park, and then they played a team from South Augusta that had a coach by the legendary Hepzibah women's coach, Wendell Lofton. So it's a lot of history here. And he was coaching this team, and they defeated Bo's team in the championship. And I remember being in that locker room with those kids, and they were crying their eyes out. And all I could remember was like, man, I want to play on this stage.
Wow.
Just hearing those guys cry, how it even hurt me. And so I would just continue to work, man, continue to work. So, and then by the time I was 10, we won it all. And I was 9, we got to the playoffs. So I was in 10, we won it all. And so now I'm starting to, watch more college basketball, more NBA basketball. Back then, the newspaper was delivered to you. I remember getting up early in the morning, running out there, getting that newspaper, checking the high school box scores. And so I just became a basketball junkie, man. And a funny thing happened. So I get into 6th grade, and you couldn't play middle school sports in the 6th grade.
That's right.
You play in the 7th and 8th. And I remember like messing around in school with my books and stuff. And, one of the teachers saying, well, if you don't pick up your grades, you'll be ineligible to play, in the 7th grade. So I'm like, wait a minute.
That's fascinating because, the rec in rec league is not connected to your academics, right? So when you're playing for the recreation department, it's not, they don't care about your academics. Whereas when you start with your school, there's an academic tie-in. If you don't pass, you can't play. That's interesting.
Right. Yeah. So it turned my life around, man. I remember the last semester when I was in the 6th grade, getting most improved student for the entire 6th grade. And it just, so sports kind of, led me down the right path academically, definitely. And, 7th grade got there, was really good again. 8th grade was really good. Just, I wanted more. So, kept working out, the guys before me, this is where they inspired me. The guys, like when I was growing up, heard a lot of stories about, guys like Gerald White. And then right before me, 2 years ahead of me were Ricky and Bontigo. And so those guys, for me, set the bar. So I was like, okay, how do I pass them? How do I, work to be better than they are, to achieve more, because that's what you have to do. That's your motivation. Nothing, personal, but if those are the guys that are at the top,
how do I become the best?
Yeah, how do I become the best? Because, Rick, I get to play against in practice, every day for 2 years. Montego, we're in the same region, so we gotta go through each other to get that region title. You know, what are these guys doing, you know, to improve their game and stuff like that? Can I get in the gym with them, you know, to see this, to compete, you know, to see where I measure? And
hold on 2 seconds, because you said something there, and it was basically the whole notion of I saw a target and I wanted to exceed that target, or I wanted to become the best. Like there was something inside of you that said, yo, I want to be the best. So whoever was the best around here, I want to be better than them. It was like this competitive internal thing. But my question is, because this was also back in the 90s, right? So this is prior to social media. This is prior to you being able to pull up and look at somebody's recruiting videos and this and that. You literally were limited to an extent to your local environment. And you were blessed to have like a Ricky Moore who went on to Connecticut, or Vonteego Cummings who went to Pittsburgh and went, you know, to the league as well. So you had some local influences that showed you that, hey, if I can get to their level, then I can go there as well.
Yeah. You know, I get to share the stage with them as a ninth grader. You know, they're the top two guys, you know, they're in 11th grade. So I got to show I belong, you know, so I got to work my butt off. And I did that, you know, played well, some of the biggest games, got to the Final Four as a ninth grader, you know, came back the next year. We win the state championship. You know, Rick graduates, come back the next year. We're back in the Final Four. And so by this time, you know, I established myself as one of the best players in the country. I had at this time, I had received my own mailbox in the school office. You know, from the college and stuff. And that was a fun time too, man, because it got to the point where probably by the 11th grade, I wasn't reading them anymore. You know, once I figured out they're all typed and they're probably sending 1,000 kids in the country the same questionnaire and stuff like that. You know, only if it was handwritten, I would open it. And so, but my friends got a lot of joy out of it. You know, I would keep them in shoe boxes, and, you know, every so often we'll get together on the weekend and we'll all open them together. You know, they thought it was a great thing. But, you know, it's, and so now, you know, 11th to 12th grade, Coach Wright, my high school coach, calls us in the office after the season, 11th grade, and tells us he's going to Tennessee, another job. And it, you know, it caught me off guard. And so.
And this was after your 11th grade year going. Yeah, okay, gotcha.
And so I'm sitting there like, man, what am I going to do? You know, you can't run the risk of just anybody coming in who's senior and coaching you, you know. And so I tried to have some input in who they would hire. You know, that didn't go.
Hold on, stop for a second. You tried to play LeBron back before LeBron. I didn't, and let me tell you what's cool about this. You know, I went to Westside and I didn't know all of this stuff. You know what I'm saying?
I'll give you a better story. I'm gonna tell you like what gave me the confidence to do that.
Okay.
So, like I said, I became one of the best players in the country. So at the time, my junior year, I was the #1 point guard in the country.
Okay.
I was the #1 point guard. George Ravlin, who a lot of us know for being famous for having the Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech. When he was a kid, when he gave the speech, he went up to him, asked for it, Martin Luther King gave it to him. All right. But, you know, strong black man, good man. And, you know, coach USC forever, you know, coached Iowa, coached a lot of teams. And now he runs Nike Global. You know, he used, at the time, he was running Nike Grassroots.
Okay.
So George Ravlin comes down to Augusta and has a meeting, myself, my mom, Coach Wright, AD, principal. We're all in the conference room that I'd never been in at Westside High School.
Wow.
Know, we're in there, and George Ravlin is like, look, if Will Avery comes to Nike camp this summer, Nike will sponsor the entire school, every sport.
Wow.
You know, every sport, not basketball. He said, and we'll take care of his personal needs, which he was already doing. You know, it'd be times where Coach Wright and I would come to school and be dressed alike. You know, back in those days, you could sing players stuff and stuff. And so I was like, wow, you know, I have this kind of power. You know what I mean?
In the 11th grade. So think about this.
in
In
the
the
11th
ooh,
grade,
Lord.
I never forget, we're having conversations, George and I, about they had just offered Allen Iverson and Kerry Kittles a shoe contract at the time.
Okay.
And at this time, Ravlin thought Nike thought they were going to get Allen Iverson,
Okay.
but, Reebok, I guess, came with a bigger deal at the time and didn't let him go in there and negotiate anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so in the 11th grade, man, we're having these kind of meetings,
Wow.
And so I was like, all right, well, I got some juice here. So, so with the coaching, like, hey, man, this is who I was like. I'll never forget it. It was a guy, Buck Harris, from my neighborhood. I had spent time, working with him at times. And he had coached a lot of the guys in the area. So I knew he would do a good job because he was familiar with
Yes,
everybody.
right.
And I think at the time he was an assistant at Augusta University where he played.
Mm-hmm.
And but those times were different, man, because if you didn't have the teaching certificate or
That's
whatever,
right. Mm-hmm.
you couldn't do it. Now they let you finish it while you're coaching.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
So I kind of felt like that was the excuse why he didn't hire him,
Uh-huh.
But nevertheless, they went on and hired a really good guy to actually hire Coach Fields, who actually coached my dad, growing up. But at the time, I didn't know, So it's like, hey, well, the next move for me is, to do something else. And Oak Hill came calling, and I thought that was an opportunity that I had to take,
Now,
to play against.
and hold on 2 seconds, because Oak Hill is a prep school, right? And so folks don't realize or don't think about it through the lens of this was back in the mid 90s. So now the whole prep school thing is everywhere. Like, you got prep schools in every state all over the country, and anybody who's a top player by the time they're 13 is going to a prep school. So what you did at that moment was kind of novel, or is kind of on the front end of what's happening now.
Definitely. It wasn't a lot of schools out there, and Oak Hill is the only one that's been able to, sustain both academically and athletically. A lot of these schools lose their credibility and stuff like that, and kids going into college, and some of these classes, not the NCAA clearinghouse is not accepting some of these classes and stuff like that. But Oak Hill has been solid, from day one. But what people get a misconception of what Oak Hill really is. Like, Oak Hill is a real high school. Like, you can't go post grad to Oak Hill.
Really? So, it's not like it's not a prep school like the after military academy type deal.
It's not a post grad school at all. And people think that. And it's a boarding school in Southern Virginia, in Mount Wilson, Virginia, with nothing to do. And, back then we were having 6 class periods. When I went to Oak Hill, we had 7.
Wow.
Very strict. We were on the 6-week scale. They were on the 9-week scale back then. And after 4 weeks, if you had a C, you had mandatory tutoring every morning.
Wow.
And it was really, we were in uniforms. It was mandatory to go to church every Sunday.
Wow.
No facial hair. Like,
wow.
it was pretty strict, man. It was really strict, and basketball was on another level. Basketball was, something you couldn't imagine, where you're playing against the top teams. I played against guys at Oak Hill. I played against Tracy McGrady twice. I played against Tayshaun Prince. He played at Compton Dominguez. We played in Anaheim, California.
Wow. Wow.
And I played against Khalid El-Amin. Get this, I played against Khalid El-Amin in Minnesota before the Timberwolves and Cleveland Cavaliers play. Terrell Brandon is on Cleveland Cavaliers, and obviously KG, is on Minnesota. 2 years later, I'm in the same locker room with these guys.
Wow.
Wow. How crazy is that? But, we played against a lot of Lamar Odom, played against him twice. This is the kind of schedule you're playing. You're playing against, NBA guys. And it prepared me for what was going to happen at Duke.
Hold on. I got a question, because, back, we talked about in Augusta, once you kind of got the bug, you realize, the bug of playing basketball and wanting to be the best, you basically size yourself up and you're like, how do I become better than the best one in my environment, right? And so then when you chose to go to Oak Hill, it's funny because I can remember, I believe it was the 100 Black Men tournament or something. When you were at Oak Hill, y'all actually came back to play in Augusta.
That's right.
And I remember it was the funniest thing because you were at Westside the year before, and now you're at Oak Hill, and you came back to play with Oak Hill. And I remember looking at the bulletin with the roster, and literally y'all's whole roster, even like y'all's 2 and 3 deep, every last one of them was major D1 players. Like guys who wasn't seeing the court were going to Pittsburgh and going to Seton Hall and that wasn't seeing the court on your squad. And so it goes back to this notion of you putting yourself, or the mindset of putting yourself amongst the best, but then committing to being the best amongst the best. And so how did that come into play when you're now in this bubble at Oak Hill where everybody's the All-American, all this, all-world, whatever type player? How did that influence you?
Well, I always had the drive, but now the culture requires you to have the drive every day.
Why? Ooh, stop. Ooh, fellas, hear that. Because again, this is something I call it like the conundrum of like smart people, or the conundrum of people who perform at a high level. The challenge is because you naturally are better than a lot of people, you have the tendency to take off. I'm not talking about Will. I'm just saying people in general. You have the tendency to take off because in reality, your 20% might be better than most people's 80 or 90%. So what you just said there was you had to be turned up 24/7 because maybe when you were playing public school ball in Augusta, you know what, you could, your 20, 30% might be enough to be the best guy on the court. Whereas you step into this type of environment where everybody is elite, it's like, look, I got to come with it every doggone day, correct?
Yeah, definitely. And back to the point where I said it prepared me for Duke. Like you said, my 20% could be better than other people's 80, 90%. Nothing against my teammates at Westside at that time, but they weren't going to be able to push me like these guys could. Because like you stated, these guys are going to play major D1 basketball, and it's the iron sharpens iron thing. These guys they have the drive too. They have the competitiveness too, and they have the talent.
Yes. Yes. See, that's, I'm going to tell you what's interesting, man. People look at gifts, right? And, some people kind of poo-poo athletics and all of that. But I'm like, you have to take a step back and realize athletics, that's a gift for some people. You know what I'm saying? Like what you have to start with somebody. I always use the analogy of Usain Bolt. Usain Bolt's the fastest man to walk the face of the earth, right? But check this out. Before he started training, Usain Bolt was still the fastest kid on the playground. You know what I'm saying? So he started. That talent is a gift, and a lot of times we don't look at it that way. And then so therefore, what happens is we have people who don't have that same level of talent that thinks, oh, I can do that. And so, for instance, me playing basketball, I set picks and burn calories. That's it. Like I ain't no hooper. So no matter how much I work, I'm not gonna be there because I ain't starting with that. That's not a gifting that I have. That's something you started with, and you also put yourself in an environment where others were gifted as well. So therefore, that iron sharpens iron pushes you, which ultimately will translate, and we'll talk about it later, translates to other aspects of life.
And that's the next point I was going to hit on. Like now, this is my environment. My environment is, hey, you wake up every morning, and you go to school, you come here, you compete. So now that aspect started translating into the classroom. So now you got to compete again. Why not be your best here?
Wow.
And it was the best academic year I ever had.
Wow.
In high school, because that was the environment. Like, no, we don't do enough to get by here. We strive for excellence. Period. That's it. Because now you're in class with students, they're going to do the same thing you're going to do. Maybe not in sports, but going to places of higher education. And the teachers, they teach like that. You know what I mean? And
dude, that's it's powerful because my grandmother, and she actually grew up on the hill. She used to live on the hill in Augusta. So folks from Augusta know the hill or whatever. But my grandma used to always say, association leads to assimilation. right? And so basically what it's saying is if you associate with something long enough, eventually you will assimilate to that. It's like you lay down with dogs, you get up with fleas. But if you surround yourself with greatness, if you surround yourself with excellence, then over time, that stuff's going to seep into you. And eventually you start putting excellence on the forefront. And that's what you aspire to. Dude, that's powerful, man.
Yes, man. And that's and that's what I'm doing now. Now I have a different perspective that I'm back in school. So now I'm going into the classroom to compete. Could have done the same thing, in school, but oh man, you got this basketball and these other distractions and stuff like that, and you can't really put it all together because you want to try this and try that, and this and that, and now, all right. Let's go. How can you be the best in this setting?
Wow.
With these kids are really smart, and all they got to do is go home and study. They don't have to go observe basketball practice like you, but where do you find the time where you can close that gap so you can come in here and compete?
And find that opportunity to close the gap so you can come in and compete. And it's that's deep, man.
I can't compete athletically anymore. So now this is my game, in the classroom to go and be the best I could be. And I don't know what the end game of that is. All I know is I'm going to continue to strive to be the best, to put myself in a situation where I have options.
That's it. And the thing is, I'm a firm believer that I've referenced this on numerous episodes, but it's a book called The Alchemist. And The Alchemist states that if you start pursuing your personal legend, it's the universe conspires to help you along on your journey. So for me, belief structure, I think it's the creator of the universe. It's God helps you along your journey as you start to walk. But you first have to start walking. And so to your point, by intentionally putting yourself in these environments that are going to challenge you and putting yourself in environments in which you're amongst excellence, you have no choice but to say, because of your internal setup, that you're going to compete and say, look, how can I be the best in this circle, no matter what circle that I'm in?
I agree with that 100%, man, because, I didn't know what was going to happen when I went back to school. All I know, I was going to go there and I was going to bust my behind to do the best I could do,
And so you went back to school, though. And I guess that meant that, you left school early initially. So you went from Oak Hill and then you ended up going to Duke University where you played ball and did your thing. And you actually, because if I remember correctly, weren't you part of the first class or the first group of players to leave Duke early to go pro?
Right. Okay. And it was frowned upon. Nobody ever done it. But, my financial situation wasn't like, the other guys. It was a chance for me to be able to help out my family. It's in a better situation. And so I left after my sophomore season, and I was the 14th pick overall to Minnesota. And there I played 3 years, and then I played 9 more years throughout Europe overseas. I got to see the world and really grew a lot, as a person, being exposed to these different cultures and being able to bring my family with me and so they can see the world, things like that.
Did they live with you over there? They lived overseas?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, our oldest daughter, who's 19 now and a sophomore at Augusta University, she's went to school in Jerusalem and Berlin. So, she has great experience, internationally. And, it was really great, just because these are places that, I probably would have never gone. And definitely, who knows, maybe would have never taken my family, out of the country. Here it is, my daughter, at the age of 2, I'm playing in Strasbourg, France. On the days off, we're going to Paris.
Wow.
Every day off, people like they prepare to go to Paris like for the whole year at times. Here it is.
Y'all go for the weekend.
Yeah, we're a 2-hour train ride away. We go there, spend the whole day, jump on the train, coming back, and we do it every time I have a day off. I remember when X-Men first came out, and we went to the movies to see X-Men, and Paris movie theater is like an auditorium.
Oh,
You
wow.
know, it's big enough to hold like 2,000-3,000 people.
Mm.
And that intermissions in the movie and people come around, you know, with concessions and stuff like that. So that as a whole was a different experience. But we're getting to, you know, hear me from the hill, I'm getting to have this experience. You know,
Wow.
my wife with the Josie, you know,
Mm.
she's in Paris watching a movie, you know, just
Wow.
things you never could dream of. And that round ball, you know, did that for us. You know,
Mm.
it's just working hard, like just like the classroom, and work hard and give myself options. That ball did that. You know, that
Mm.
ball helped me see the world. You know, and
But it started, but to your point, I think we touched on it a little bit. It also started with you recognizing that that was something special in your life, right?
yeah,
And I guess a question I would have, because you also run a basketball academy. There are a lot of people who every little kid dribbling the ball they think's going to the league, right?
yeah,
Like, and it's so, because you're someone who's actually physically been there, but then you also work with numerous kids and have seen those that are up there, and then those that, it's cool that you play as good athletically, you learn some good, communication skills and all of that, but basketball ain't gonna be your ticket. What do you say to parents? Because sometimes I feel like mom and dad try to live vicariously through their kids, and that's really not necessarily a path that their kids are headed down. What do you say to those parents?
I tell you, Mike, it's actually now there's a great opportunity for kids that love the game. Let's say basketball. All right, it may not be playing.
Mm,
You can still be like now. You know, basketball has followed the business model where analytics are extremely important.
mm-hmm,
You like numbers, you get, you know, you're not good enough to play in the NBA, boom, you can work in somebody's front office, you know, doing analytics. You know,
mm,
that is a huge part of everybody's organization these days.
mm-hmm.
My teammate Shane Battier played with me at Duke. He's the director of analytics in Miami. You know,
Wow.
and you know, he just goes out and hires smart people that probably don't have a clue about basketball.
Mm,
You know, but they're good with numbers. So I tell kids, look, don't give up on your dream, but maybe this can lead you to other avenues that you didn't even know existed. You
mm,
know, and it may not be playing. You know, one of the things I look at, Mike, is when I look at all my friends, you know, and not all of them played in the NBA, but I would say 90% of my friends I met along the way uh, through basketball. You
mm-hmm,
know, I could tell you a crazy story, man. One of the managers at Duke, the time I played, he's getting ready to be one of the richest people in the world. He
mm,
uh, he has a temp control business. He's in the cold storage.
mm-hmm.
You know, so he touches a third of the food in the country. You know,
Wow.
so anything that's shipped cold has to go through his company. So
Mm,
so all the meat that's on the shelves, you know, in these grocery stores has to come through his company. They deal with 100 million pounds of food, you know.
wow. Wow.
But being a manager at Duke led him to Merrill Lynch because of the connection
Mm-hmm.
and
Ooh.
and to meet, you know, other, you know, brilliant minds, and then came up with this idea, you
Wow.
know. So
Wow.
had he not been a part of Duke basketball, he would have never met the guy at Merrill Lynch, you know,
Ooh.
get in the door,
Dude,
you know.
man. Ooh, that I'm gonna tell you, fellas, I hope y'all are listening to what Will just dropped there. A lot of times we look at just the one thing that we can see, but you think about like an iceberg,
And you know
90%.
what,
Go
Mike?
ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, brother. We good.
It's not Merrill Lynch. I'm sorry. It's Morgan Stanley. My
Okay.
bad. Morgan Stanley. Yeah.
Okay. No, it's all good. The
Yeah.
story is still the same. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
And I was thinking about the concept of the iceberg, right? The iceberg, 90% of its mass is under the surface. You know what I'm saying? The only thing you see is that little tip, and you think that's it. What Will was just exemplifying was the fact that if basketball or if sports or if track and field or football, whatever it is, if that is your love, what you see typically is just a person on the field or on the court. But beneath the surface, there are so many opportunities that might be available if you truly do have a love for that, which might not lead you to actually being a player or a coach, because that's the only thing that we see. And you mentioned you have analytics, you have other things, but what's even deeper than that, by following your love, by following your heart, you then open up your opportunity to build relationships with people who could lead to something in a totally different direction. And that all started from, like Will mentioned, the relationships developed through the sport of basketball.
That's correct. And so that's what I, try to advise, parents on. Don't let them give up on that dream. Keep working out. And I see several kids that are really smart kids, and they get there and they can't play. Hey, let me call the coach. You want to be a walk-on? Just so you can be around it.
Mm-hmm.
Because the relationships you can build through basketball are, like nothing else you wouldn't believe. Another thing I advise my kids on that play college basketball, like, hey, start having these meetings with these alumni that are in your career field, because while you're a player, they'll take these meetings. Once you leave, they may not take that meeting. But you got to use your resources, and you got to use your leverage. Start taking these meetings, maybe setting up internships. So when you leave that university, whether you're continuing your basketball career, or whether you're going into your career field, one, you have a relationship, but two, if you may have a job right away. Nonetheless, it gives you options. You know what I mean?
Dude, man, I'm gonna tell you something. There are three words that come to mind when I'm just hearing you talk. And, first is greatness, because you aspired to greatness. Like, I want to be the best. Two is relationships, because the value of everything, or the core of everything, is about building strong and solid relationships, no matter what you're doing. But then this other thing, and it kind of ties back into what you talked about with that meeting your junior year in high school, is the concept of leverage, right? Because we don't understand at times the power of leverage, because when you have leverage, and sometimes leverage is not going to be there all the time. While you're playing at a certain place, or while you're at the top of your game, that's when everybody kind of wants to get around and wants to, talk to you and converse and build relationships and all, because you're there. A couple of years later, you might not have that same juice or that same leverage. So understanding when you have leverage, it's like striking when the iron is hot. And it's not about capitalizing there. It's about using that so that you can build for the future.
Yes, definitely, man. So I try to, one thing I have is life experience.
That's big.
And that's extremely valuable. And I try to give that to the kids that I've come in contact with. A lot of these things that I'm saying today, I didn't know when I was in college. And I wish somebody had told me, how to network and do those things outside of basketball. Who knew the guy that was a manager, passing us cups of Gatorade and towels, was going to be one of the richest dudes in the world.
Wow.
Who knew that?
That's real.
And a lot of, these guys are successful. I mean, I got another guy who was a walk-on, he's into the tech stuff. He's out in San Francisco. He's one of the, the top entrepreneurs, under 40 at the time when it came out. But he's built this company called Circle Up, which allows investors that make $100,000 or less to invest. And
wow.
So check it out, Circle Up. So, these guys are doing amazing things, outside of basketball. And, of course, you still have us, coaching and doing that stuff, which is great too. But, when you could bring it all together,
yes,
you know what I mean, and really help each other, you have something really good there. And all that's done through relationships.
Relationships, fellas. Double down on your relationships. Relationships matter. And I'm gonna tell you what's interesting too. Relationships, not always from the perspective of I'm trying to get something out of it. Just build relationships, because the other side to it is, people can smell when somebody's coming and trying to get something. And you could probably speak to this, as, an NBA player, as a pro player, as somebody at Duke, you could probably smell a mile away when somebody was trying to come in and, build a relationship because they're wanting something. It's not about that. It's about building a relationship because people matter. You know what I'm saying? That's the key.
Yeah, people definitely matter, man. And so, I'm back in this mode, and well, let's go to the NBA. So
Okay.
after college,
Hmm.
get drafted 14th Minnesota. I'm 19 years old.
Mm.
19 years old, going to unfamiliar territory, uh, trying to figure this thing out. Uh, you know, just just being honest here.
Hmm.
It was it didn't come from money. You
Hmm.
know, just it's the first time that I have a lot of money. You
Hmm.
know, signed my first contract. 3 years, close to $4 million. At
At
19,
19 years old.
19 years old, and
Wow.
you want to take care of everybody, but you know, not coming from money, you really don't understand money. You know,
Ooh, say that
you know what I
again.
mean?
Mm.
Not coming from money, you really don't understand money. So you're looking at that $4 million figures, $4 million. What it really is $2 million.
Because taxes,
Taxes,
agent fees, and
you know, and stuff like that. And you're like, you get to the point where after my first year, I'm like, you really can't take care of everybody on this. You know,
ooh.
this is not enough money to go and take care of everybody.
Mm.
You know, and so I always say the best teacher is experience. You know,
Mm-hmm.
in life. And so you go through, you're trying to figure that out. Like, man, this is interesting because growing up, most, for me, parents live check to check.
Mm-hmm.
You know, hey, sometimes you got to choose between water and light bill, food on the table. You got to make a choice. Sometimes you don't have it to do everything. And so now, you're having to learn about money, you know.
Mm.
And so now that's when these relationships come into play. You know,
Ooh.
these other guys, they know, you know, because they come from it. They know what to do with it, how to invest, and all those things. So you have to learn on the fly.
Mm.
You know.
Mm. Now,
But
so to that point, like how, I mean, again, I guess you make good and some not so good decisions. I mean,
yes,
it's a learning process. But what was that thing that I guess helped you to, I guess, sustain yourself going forward in the midst of that? Like coming in, was it like one particular relationship? Was it one experience? Was it something that kind of helped you to see it in a different way?
yeah, one of the guys, another walk on, the brother of the guy who created Circle Up. I remember being in Jerusalem and playing in Israel and really having time to talk to him. I talked to him some when I was in Minnesota, but
Mm-hmm.
you're like, oh man, you don't know what you're talking about.
Uh-huh.
Because you see the other side of this guy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You know what I
absolutely.
mean? You see the fun side.
Uh-huh.
And you're like, hey, because at this time we're still, I'm still roughly about 22 years old.
Mm-hmm.
He's probably 23, 24. Like, most of the time when you think talking money, you think you're gonna get, somebody seasoned 40-year-old, 50-year-old guy coming in,
Yeah.
but this guy's done well for himself now. But he comes to me then like, look, man, I could help you, do this. And I'm like, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time I got in Jerusalem, he had started to do quite well.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's when he started to, educate me on some things and, about, you know, being able to live when you retire like you do now,
Mm-hmm.
putting it away and stuff like that. And, maybe even sacrifice now,
Mm.
live better then because, he would always tell me, look, man, what your body is going through, you're not going to be able to go get no job. Nobody's going to hire you until you be limping around their office or something. And, so he taught me, so basically like sacrifice and live extremely frugal, this way and put it up, for later. And, we knew one of the things we knew is that you have a small window to play this
Mm-hmm.
game. I was fortunate enough to play 12 years. But, I was also injured and missed a month. So when you look at it like this, like when I'm playing in Europe, let's say, I can remember the first time I got badly injured.
Okay.
Okay. I think at that time, I'm making probably like $45,000 a month.
Okay.
Right. So after I get injured, Europe is not like the NBA. That money stops.
Woo! Hold
That
up.
that money stops. So what you normally do is you try to negotiate. Sometimes you can get the next month, or you get a part of that month, just like to hold you over. In this particular situation, I was able to get the next month.
Mhm.
Right. So I lose pay, like 3-4 months of pay. So you do the math,
Wow, that's no joke.
yeah,
That's for
that's
some people, that's a couple years salary,
yeah.
Yeah.
You look at 4 months, I lose $180,000. That I'm a basketball player. Like
Mm,
it's gonna be impossible to make that money up.
mm,
You know what I mean?
mhm.
And so, and the natural thing that happens after that is you're probably not going to get, when you get healthy, you're not going to go get a job that's paying that. Right.
Absolutely. That's right. That's right.
So, because one, you're desperate to show people that you're healthy.
Mhm.
And you also want to be in a good situation when you come back, because you don't want to come back and then you're on a team that don't make the playoffs. That
Absolutely.
doesn't help you either. So I take a job when I get healthy and come back, that's paying now like $17,000 a month.
Okay.
So good money, but it's still
It's not what it was. Mhm.
nowhere near. And you sit down with your family, usually before every contract, you start the budget. You know,
Mhm.
yeah,
Mhm.
you can do this, you can do that, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. All that changes,
Mhm.
and you had to use that money, in those 4 months,
To
you know what
carry
I
you
mean?
over. That's right.
Yeah, where you weren't getting paid, you know what I
Wow.
mean? And so, life as a basketball player is hard. So it's so important to, save, 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 and it's it's a great, life lesson to learn, man, especially for, people that come from where I come from.
Mhm.
You feel like, man, I owe these people, they was there. That's why I love to see, what LeBron does with his guys.
Mhm.
He's not saying, here's a handout. It's like, nah, I'm gonna open some doors so you can get your
Ooh.
own thing started. You know what I
That's
mean?
man. Ooh, it's this whole concept of I mean, again, you take mom and siblings, whatever. That's different. But as far as like when you start stepping outside of that realm of your network, it's like I might not be able to just float you or fund your lifestyle. But what we can do is we can put you in a position in which, like LeBron, one of y'all is my agent. One of y'all is my business manager. One of y'all is, you handle this type of deal or you handle this aspect. And so it's like, I can't necessarily float you, but we might be able to create a position in which you can float yourself. But it also it helps the whole global position, because then we're all winning.
That's right. And now we become more powerful. You know,
Yes.
we become more powerful because you don't have to lean on me anymore. You know what I
Mm,
mean? You carry your own weight. You're gonna build even more relationship. So are you, and then it's gonna all come together, and we're gonna be able to do even more. You know, I looked at, it's funny. I read a lot about guys. That's one thing the guys have now coming into the league, especially young. They understand that they are a business, they
mm,
are a brand. They understand that they have these, social media platforms where they build those brands and create those brands,
mm-hmm.
and it's all strategically done.
Absolutely.
I took a social marketing class this semester just so I can learn about these things to help Will Avery Basketball Academy in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And every tweet that goes out from LeBron is strategically tweeted.
Yes.
The time, when, everything is done. That's strategically done. And I was reading an article on his group with Blaze Pizza.
Yeah. Yep.
And,
Absolutely.
they all combined, they joined in together to invest $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a funny thing because when they did it, LeBron was endorsed by McDonald's,
Mm.
making $6 million a year. So he, due to his contract, he couldn't push another food industry.
At that
So
time. That's right. That's
yeah,
right.
so he
Mm-hmm.
couldn't promote Blaze Pizza. But now that $1 million worth $35 million.
Mm-hmm.
So of course, broad didn't re-up with McDonald's.
Absolutely.
And when you think about it, when you like, oh man, McDonald's gonna pay me, $6 million, you just jump to that, okay, jump to that. And then you look at it like, you know what though? What if I invested and push my own food product?
Ooh.
And that's what they've done. And
Mm.
now he's gonna make a whole lot more money, with Blaze Pizza than he's gonna make from endorsing McDonald's product. And
Mm.
so these guys, they know the business a lot more than we did.
Mm.
Because, we didn't come behind guys that were doing this thing, that were everybody just focused on the court. It wasn't social media or anything, but these guys are building these brand, and becoming, business owners, very quick. And I love to see it. And so what you're gonna have, you know, less players going broke.
That's a blessing. Because what in the statistic that says something like 75% within like 3 years are dealing with some type of financial hardship or something.
Definitely. Yeah.
Wow.
Definitely. And these aren't the guys that are making, 4 or 5 million, like me. These are the guys that make 100, 200 million in that situation.
Wow.
And which is like, I always hear people say, "Oh man, how can you do that? How can you go through that money?" Well, if you're in that life,
It's easy.
Yeah, you're playing for the Lakers and you're living in California,
Mm-hmm.
highest state taxes, the cost of living is higher, trying to keep up with the Joneses, it don't take long.
Man, I'm gonna tell you, it's funny you say that because I was listening to, I think it was actually your he came after you would do Jason Williams. And I remember him talking about how he said, people in almost the exact scenario. He said, folks say, how can you go broke if, you're making all kind of millions? And he said, I'm going to give you the prime example. He said a first class plane ticket from LA to New York round trip might be like $3,000. But because everybody else is not flying first class, they chartering a plane. That's like 30 grand each way. And I'm like, shoot, I want to ball like everybody else. So instead of me flying first class at three grand round trip, I'm chartering a plane from New York to LA and I'm paying 30 grand each way because keeping up with the Joneses.
That's right. It's funny with this whole chartered plane thing. So I got introduced to this quick, not myself personally, but Kevin Garnett, that was the only way he traveled at the time. But Garnett is making $21 million a year at the time. So even he, was telling me some things he had to learn, but this is what he does. And you're right, because that 30 number is almost accurate. You know what I mean? Garnett spends 300 grand a year. And he said with that 300 grand, he gets 25 flying hours. 25 hours. And so he says every year he puts away 300 grand. He said his hours will roll over. But every year he puts 300 grand. So he's always got that plane, ready when he need it. But it's still 300 grand.
For 25 hours. For 25 hours. I mean, you
that
stop
he never uses. 25. So like you said, if you did LA to New York back and forth, that's 10 of those hours.
That's 10 of those hours right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, oh my gosh. I mean, but again, it's the whole notion of the environment that you're in. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like when, you're hanging out and doing this and doing that, and you go and you hanging out with this crew and everybody's doing bottle service and this and that and whatever. You're just like, look, that's what they're doing. That's what I'm supposed to do. I'm an NBA player. I'm supposed to do VIP this. I'm supposed to fly private, or I'm supposed to wear this type of clothes or drive this type of car because, and it's like the notion of the stuff is supposed to match your title or your status.
Yeah. And something's going to get you, whether it's you like to dress nice, so now you want the best tailor. So now you got this tailor flying in. They give you these packages. Okay, I'm going to give you, 10 suits for 10,000. All right. You do that 3 or 4 times that year, maybe. You got 30 suits because, at that level, you don't want to wear the same thing twice.
That's it.
Right?
It's real.
Then you got to go get the best shoes, So you go spend another $500 to $1,000 on a pair of shoes. And it starts to add up. Like you said, you're at the club, you want bottle service, all right? And you want to bring your friends, but They can't afford that. So guess who pays for it? You
That's
do.
it.
You pick up the bill, give them all their own hotel room in a 5-star hotel, and before you know it, you flew them in for a weekend and went out, and you spent another $10,000.
And you don't think about it. Like, again,
Wow.
and I appreciate you, kind of opening up about that, because a lot of times, folks who are not in that world, the first thing in their mind, oh, they stupid, man. Look, man, all you got to do is give me this and I'll be fine. Dude, yes, if you live the same lifestyle that you're living now, but you're not going to, more than likely, you're not going to the NBA with, no matter how big or small your contract, and still living in your, 2-bedroom condo in South Augusta.
The housing market is not like Augusta. Trust me.
That is.
we all wish, and the closer you can get it, you find a ton of NBA guys living in Atlanta. But it's definitely not here.
That's right.
Guys in California, man, were paying like over $4 for a gallon of gas.
Yeah.
It's normal. Like we're at like a $1.32 at Sam's, I think now. They're down like $2.63, and that thing is the best. They think it's the best thing in the world. You know what I mean?
It's perspective. Like, I'm gonna tell you, because my wife's in Los Angeles, man. It was funny. I speaking to that. This was when the gas prices were crazy. This is probably like 7-8 years ago, when the gas prices were off the charts. My father-in-law had a Corvette, and so we took the Corvette out, and we had gotten it down to like a half a tank. So we had to go fill up the tank, and you had to put premium gas in it. And this was in LA. I want to say the premium gas was almost $6 a gallon at the moment. Yeah. And I remember, and I was saying to myself, this half a tank of gas was dang near $100. I'm like, man, you can have this. I'll rent a car before we try this thing again. But it's all relative. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. I remember talking to a friend of mine, one of my teammates, that he lives in San Francisco, and he was like, yeah, man, I just spent $600,000 remodeling my house. I was like, remodeling, like that's a whole nother house.
Oh man, shoot, that's 3 houses.
Yeah,
4 houses.
I say, but that's the world they live in San Francisco. That's I'll never get the funniest story, man. I had a friend of mine played overseas with me, and he played at Arizona State, and he had a nice, 5-bedroom, 3-bath, and in Tempe, Arizona, that he had bought it for $350. His wife is from San Francisco, and he got a new deal, like a 3-year, $5 million deal. And overseas, when you get this money, it's tax free.
Okay. So that's right. That's right. Because you're offshore. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it's not 2.5. He's really getting 5. Okay. And so, he felt his wife kind of made him feel guilty, because she's been on this journey along with him, and been away from her family, for quite some time. And so she talked him into buying a 3-bedroom condo. How much in San Francisco? How much you think this condo cost?
Oh, and what year was this?
This was roughly about 2005.
2005 was the peak of the housing market. 3-bedroom San Francisco is probably he probably spent about $2 million. How much you spend?
He spent $1 million.
Oh my gosh.
He spent $1 million on this 3. He said, and he's like, he's from Long Beach. So he's like, well, I go from spending $350, having my pool table, plenty of space, loving it, front backyard. I spent $1 million. I'm in a building.
And I don't own the building.
Yeah, that's right. He says, I'm in a building, man, and I can't even get my pool table in the building. I can't even fit it. But he did that for her. But that's how crazy it is, man. $350 and he's loving it. $1 million and he feels like
he's cramped.
Yeah.
Oh, stuff like that is wild, but it is good to give people a window into the perspective, because to me, then it helps you to understand how and why these types of decisions can be made, and how if you don't have the examples, you don't have the team around you, you don't have folks that have your best interest, how things can go left really, really quickly. And for me, I think this is good for the brothers who are not athletes, who have not experienced this, to not judge, because I think there's a lot of judgment that comes to, brothers who come into money quickly, or, athletes, entertainers, or even if you have a business deal, whatever, something pops and all of a sudden you have this windfall and then it is no longer there. I think this type of stuff helps people to see how that can happen very easily, but it's also cautionary so that when things do come, it's the business, the value prop of building those relationships before, so that you can properly handle things when they do come, so that you can sustain yourself for the long run. So
Yes.
that's fascinating. And so speaking of long run, it's like, you went from Duke to the NBA, and then you played overseas. And so you had a 12-year pro career. And then after that, you started Will Avery Basketball Academy. So talk to us about how everything that you've done led to the creation of the Will Avery Basketball Academy.
Well, when I retired, I had started. I knew I needed to do something. When I stopped, and I wanted to come home. I wanted to come home because I wanted my children to have a chance to grow up with cousins and stuff like that, because they had been, gone so much. And so I knew I wanted to do something where I could give back. And so 2 years prior to retiring, I started doing basketball camps in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
And then I wanted to expand on that. So I came and I started, I knew I wanted to work with kids,
Mm-hmm.
and mentor, them. And, I was in my home one day and I got a knock at the door. It was at the time, I think it was about 14, 15. And he knocks on the door. He's like, "Hey, Mr. Avery, I want to ask you something." He was like, "Would you mind, training me? And in exchange, I would, cut your grass."
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, "Oh, wait a minute, that's a pretty good deal here."
I ain't got to cut the grass no more. Come on. Shoot.
In the summers with this Georgia heat,
Man, look, I'll show you a little something. Come on.
yeah. So I started, work with him. He was a kid. He wanted to make the varsity team at his high school. And so I started work with him, and I really enjoyed being in the gym with him. Even though he wasn't the best talent, but I enjoyed seeing his progression from week to week.
Mm-hmm.
Just, things we had worked on and stuff like that. So I was like, man, this is what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is what I want to do. So I start checking out the market, and seeing, the market value, what kids were paying for training, and stuff like that. And so I took on, this, and I had got a bunch of kids right away. And so this became the Will Avery Basketball Academy, with these kids. And so then I started exploring into running basketball tournaments, all-star games. One of the things that I'm most proud of is the unsigned senior showcases that me and my team is able to put together, where we take these kids from Augusta or surrounding areas that didn't get the exposure during the high school season, the trap ball season. And just my relationship with these coaches, we can bring in 5 to 10 college coaches to see them play, and got a guy videoing, and we're sending out footage to everybody, and we're able to help so many kids. And and that's been the funnest thing. We've got it now where we got it to the point where we didn't even have to charge the kids.
Wow.
We started making it financially.
Hey, question with that. Do you have any specific success stories with the unsigned? Because I think that's a powerful thing there, in the sense of, the kids who didn't get signed, who maybe didn't have the exposure, but now you're creating this platform for the unsigned talent to get exposure. Do you have any success story that kind of sticks out in your mind?
Oh, got a ton of them.
Mm-hmm. Well, let us know about one or two, man, because I think that would be really, really cool.
I can remember a kid, playing at Laney, and this was always like, I tell people, never judge a book by its cover. So I remember the first one I had. So they have to submit the GPAs and ACT scores.
Mm-hmm.
And this kid was obviously talented, but never really played, any really significant travel ball where they went anywhere and got it from people. And so it's registration day, and I'm kind of sitting in the concession stand of the area, just looking at the booklet, because we put together information booklet on each kid
Mm.
page on each kid, and this is what the college coaches pay for. They
Okay.
pay for this information so they know who they're watching when they watch them on the court.
Okay.
And so I'm going through it, and you know, this one particular kid, has great GPA and exceptional ACT score.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, oh my God, like, if she can play, like, people need to know this.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And she goes out there and she plays well. And, I'm so excited, Mike, at the
Mm-hmm.
end. I was hoping she played well. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I was so excited just to send out her information to other schools. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? And the buzz was crazy. And,
Mm-hmm.
mom was, consistently calling me, like, thanking me all the time, because she go from 0 to having to choose between 10 schools.
Wow.
And just that's how it is, because she had great grades,
Mm.
And so
Ooh.
this a lot of people don't understand, like, D2s and D3s may not have the athletic budget as
Mm.
D1, but they have a ton of academic money, you
Ooh.
know, a
That's
ton of
that's
it.
that's
So,
key. That's key. Folks don't
yeah,
realize that, man. Like, and so, so even from the standpoint of, yes, your dream is to play college basketball and all of that, maybe you're not the best talent, but academically you're shining. I mean, you're good enough to play, but maybe academically you're shining. There's some academic money there, which will allow
yeah.
you to go to school for free and play ball.
And so it gives schools flexibility, because
Mm.
even though you're really good, look, you're going to get a full ride, but because you've done so well in the classroom, I don't have to give you as much athletic money, because
Mm.
you can get academic money. So if that scholarship is 30 grand, maybe I got you 10 grand athletic money and 20 grand academic money.
Wow.
You don't really care because you're getting a full ride. School is paid for. But
Mm.
for that budget, that helps them big time. Now
Mm.
they're able to go out and get another good kid. Maybe another kid doesn't have those grades and they have to spend the whole 30 on that kid.
Mm-hmm.
But it helps them, and that's what she was able to do. But she picked to stay in Georgia because another thing, she was able to get the hope. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
The Hope
So
Scholarship, yeah.
she stayed in Georgia because she wanted to be close, and that was probably because that happened so quick.
Mm.
A lot of them, I work on for some time, but this happened in like a span of days.
Wow.
Like I saw her Sunday, by Friday, once we, got that stuff out there, she had several schools that wanted her,
Hold on. You kind of gloss over because you keep saying her. So with the Will Avery Basketball Academy, this is both guys and girls, or do you
Yeah.
primarily focus on girls, or how is it set up?
It's guys and girls, but I've more so I've been able to coach the girls
Mm-hmm.
because I have 2 daughters.
Okay.
So quite naturally, my daughter played, and
Mm-hmm.
so I would be, she got me in the coaching travel ball.
Mm-hmm.
So I would see what was out there, and so now I know what I need to do to help the kids in the area.
Mm.
It's been, I look now, I have some kids in the transfer portal.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I have a grad transfer. She went to USC Aiken,
Mm-hmm.
and she turned down Division I schools to go to USC Aiken to stay close to home.
Mm-hmm.
Now she got injured, so she's redshirted 1 year, so she has another year eligibility. And then I have one that's a junior at Memphis that's transferring, and 2 more that are leaving winter.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell you, man, I woke up this morning, to a missed call from assistant coach at Penn State.
Uh-huh.
These are kids from Augusta, man.
Wow. What?
These are kids, right here, in Augusta that, have the likes of, Penn State, Memphis, Alabama, Vanderbilt, whoever it is, Clemson, just call it me. And I've been I can't tell you how many football games I've been to because of these kids.
Wow.
I saw the Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson game because I
Wow.
was with a kid on a recruiting visit there.
Wow.
I saw Alabama probably play 3 or 4 times because I got a kid that's there playing now. So she took several visits there. I
Wow.
mean, it's amazing, like what these kids can do if you give them the stage. I can't perform for you, but I can give you the stage.
Ooh, dude.
And
Hold on. It's interesting. you talked about learning, and this is interesting, like listening to your story, you learn lessons from those that are around you, right? And what did we talk about not long ago? And when you mentioned like kind of looking at LeBron and how he operates, it's not about giving you stuff. I'm giving you the stage to shine. I can't perform
Yes,
for you,
yes,
but you got
that's
to
right.
shine. And it's
Yes, sir.
interesting connecting the dots to what you're doing with the Will Avery Basketball Academy. It's look, I have relationships, I have leverage, and because of my greatness, people listen or they pick the phone up when I call, but I can't necessarily perform for you, but I am in a position in which I can give you the stage. And that's, dude, but it's connecting the dots here. So paying attention, learning, and pulling, but then applying it across multiple platforms within your life. That's a powerful thing, man.
And I tell you, man, the reason I do this, and I get so excited about it, because I was that kid. You
Mm,
know, had it not been from a guy named Norman Parker in Adairsville, Georgia, where I had no idea or had no idea that even existed.
mm-hmm,
You know, this guy came into my life, man, at around 11 years old, and I was hesitant about joining him because I was so loyal to Bo
mm-hmm,
Harrison. When I started playing trap ball, Bo Harrison said, "Look, you're gonna go with this man. He's gonna take care. He can do things for you I can't do."
mm, ooh,
And he gave me the stage.
mm,
You know, and it was up to me to perform, and I did. So I get excited, man. And he did a lot, and so I seen it firsthand. So when I'm driving to Alabama that morning, take that kid on a visit, watch a game. Me and my partner, we're driving right back, get back 3, 4 in the morning, about to fall asleep on the road.
mm-hmm.
We did it for that kid.
Wow.
Where if I'm driving to Memphis 7 hours just so this kid can see the campus,
Mm,
because maybe my mom is busy or whatnot, can't take it, and I take her, I'm happy about that. You know,
mm,
I I helped her, do something, she couldn't do, and she deserves this opportunity, you
mm,
know. And so, man, I get so much joy, out of helping these kids, because I used to be that kid, and I'm a big believer that, finances and your home structure, your single parent or what, shouldn't stop you, from getting an opportunity to better your life.
ooh,
You
that's
know,
big.
and so if I can help, I'm always there, and and it's helped me, so much with fatherhood, just seeing those things, and so now at home, I push my kids to use their resources, and
Mm,
do the, because I'm a living testimony that this works,
mm,
and it doesn't have to be in sports, because right now it's not.
mm-hmm,
My daughter switched majors from nursing to business, and had a long talk with her one night, and about using her resources, and things like that, and just being more proactive with the things she wants to do. Like, look, when you're in college, this is the best time. Like, use those professors, go to them. They want to know your interests, and they want you to, you know, dream big.
mm-hmm,
And so the next day she went into the classroom and kind of told the teachers her ideas, and man, that thing just took off. It just, it's unexplainable, how fast, just the conversation we had the night before, she wants to get into retail and stuff. And she told her teacher this, and teacher has a connect that works for Arthur Blank. Come to find out, Arthur Blank owns several Macy's. My daughter was putting together a fashion show. They send the clothes from the Macy's for the kids to wear,
wow.
just little things like that, man. So now that's a relationship she has. So
Mm.
now you kind of got a foot in the door, as when it comes to, starting a retail chain or whatnot,
Man,
little things like that.
Man, I'm gonna tell you what's powerful about you and your story is, again, relationships are at the core of it. But then, two, it's also about you living it and you being a living testimony of what that is and what that looks like. So it's not always just, hey, I'm telling you, let me show you what I did. And
Yeah.
so leading into that, you're now back in school. So I mean, it doesn't seem like you necessarily had to go back to college to finish your degree. You chose to do that. So talk to us a little bit about what inspired you to go back and finish, to go back to Duke, 20 years later, and complete your degree, and then what's next for Will Avery and everything you have going on.
Well, one, I'm a big believer, man. I believe, I'm like this. Don't tell me to do something you've never done.
Ooh, dig it.
I'm a big believer in that. Don't tell me to do it if you never done it. You know what I mean? So when I look at myself, I'm telling these kids about education all the time. Like, okay, well, if they come and say, well, Coach Avery, you don't have your degree. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And so that was one, but just to show my kids that to never be complacent in life. Keep striving to be the best. And I want to coach collegiately, and to do that, you have to have a degree. But now that I'm in there, I'm seeing other things. So I don't know if I would do that or not. I want to, but I'm giving myself options. But if you're gonna tell kids to do their best, then you should probably do it too. You know what I mean? You're gonna preach education.
That's right. That's right. You need to be educated.
Yeah, you need to be educated. That's right. And I have a little fun with my daughter. We compete on who's gonna have the best grades at the end of the semester, stuff like that. But that's the competitor in me again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want to do it with all my kids, and maybe cash out them some lunch money, but you never know these NCAA rules, man.
Oh yeah, be careful.
Yeah, so you gotta be careful. But no, but it's been fun, man, and just the support of my brothers, man, back at Duke, the guys that I played with, or was part of the program. Just when they found out what I was doing, man, they was like, man, yeah, I commend you. I don't know if I could do it, but I support you 100%. It's 20 years, man, and I'm in class sometimes, and a kid says, hey, my mom and dad went to school with you here. I remember talking to Trey Jones, our point guard this season. He's in at the draft. He's going to be a really good pro, and he's from Apple Valley, Minnesota. And when I played with the Timberwolves, I lived a suburb over in Eden Prairie. And I told him, I said, yeah, man, I used to live in Eden Prairie. He's like, really? I was like, yeah. He's like, I said, yeah, I played with Minnesota. He was like, what years? And I was, 99 to 2002. He's like, dang, I was just born in 2000.
That's wild.
It's been an experience, man. Just 20 years. But I was talking to Coach about it one day, and he laughed. He said, "So Will, imagine me. I'm 73 coaching teenagers."
Oh wow, that's right. Because Coach K is 73. He's been at Duke for what, about 45 years? How long has he been at Duke?
This is his 40th season.
Wow.
At Duke, yeah.
That's wild, man.
So he's having to relate and text and FaceTime and all this kind of stuff, man. So puts things in perspective, and it's been fun though. I enjoy it. Like, the kids think it's the coolest thing in the world to have me in the classroom.
Wow.
And I was kind of uncomfortable, like, doing group work at first. I was like, nah, I really don't want to do it. I don't want to slow you down, just get my feet wet, it's been 2 years. They're like, no, just come on, let's do it. So the kids were really good about it. And I can see things from a different perspective, and they appreciate it.
Yeah. Look, they using technology. You pulling out notebooks and pencil and paper. Like, hey, look, let me jot these notes down. They like, let me send you an Evernote and let me text you. You're like, no. Give me a piece of paper real quick.
That's right. So the first week, I'm in there with my notepad and my pen taking notes, and I'm like, dang, they taking their notes on the computer. Nobody got no pen and paper. I'm trying to look over, like, see what they're doing, see if I can maybe catch on and pick it up. You know what I mean? It's been a great, learning experience, man. I've learned, so much. Just technology just makes things so much easier, man. And I sitting there with this, but I'm still, man, I'm still a pen and paper guy, man.
I am. Look, man, I'm taking notes right here.
Yeah, man, me too. I'm right with you, man.
Uh-huh.
So, that's just, I'm still a note taker to the end, man. I'll probably go through 100 of these a year, man. Who
Man, I'm
knows?
the same way. I'm the same way. Yep,
I got them
same way.
everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool, man. Well, dude, I don't want to take up much more of your time, man. Is there anything that the brothers in the Black Fathers Now family can do to support the Will Avery Basketball Academy, or is there anything that you have going on that you'd like to kind of put out there for us
Man.
to check?
Just like and share the page with your friends. We're working on just created an IG last night actually.
Mm-hmm.
Will Avery Academy Facebook page. We're working to bring valuable and informative content through there on a daily basis. So for parents and kids, and they can come there and learn and do a lot of Zoom stuff like you and I are doing with coaches. And we'll put that stuff on there as well, so they can sit and listen to the conversations, and maybe get their kid to listen to the conversation, because we get pretty deep just on the process mainly, and what these coaches expect from kids and stuff, so you can have a better understanding from the actual head coach and not what somebody's telling you.
Absolutely.
What happens there and what they look for, because I always tell kids this. I say, look, they're going to be hard on you, because a college coach is depending on teenagers to put food on their table.
Ooh, that's
a very tough position to be in. Yeah.
That's deep.
Yeah, so they got to develop these kids, and they got to win games with these kids, and so if you can't get the job done, I got to go get something else. I go get somebody else. And what I was telling one of the girls a couple years ago, I said, look, they're going to be tough, because, at the time her coach was making about $600,000 a year. I said, if she loses that job, she's not going to be able to go get another job to pay her that kind of money. You get fired, you're going down, down a level, down in salary. You may not get back there, so believe me, she wants to keep that job. So she's going to do everything in her power to get the best out of you. Team can be better, so you can win and she can continue to have that job.
Absolutely. It's all connected. It's all connected. Yeah. Wow. And so for people to check you out, is on Facebook, IG, is it a website? What's the
Will Avery Basketball Academy on Facebook. Now we're on IG. Will Avery Basketball Camps.com is the website. Obviously right now with COVID-19, we don't have anything going on. But if you feel like there's a need for any of the things I do in your area, you can come there and shoot me a message. We're always looking to, to grow and expand to different areas. I was really excited about this summer, because it was the first time I was going to do a fully free camp for underprivileged kids, both in Augusta, Georgia, and Durham, North Carolina. And Durham, North Carolina has a big issue with gentrification, now, and these kids have been displaced, and a lot of them, living in hotels and stuff like that. So it's been tough. So I was going to give back and, give a week of camp for these kids. And we were going to do the same thing back here in Augusta, as well as camps in Myrtle Beach and Hilton Head, just move it around, man. We're trying to grow. Had a really good conversation last night with someone in California, that would like us to come out there. So yeah, if any of the guys in the the Black Father group, think that, hey, we would love to have somebody, like myself with my experience, to come and whether it's just speak to kids, speak to a team at a banquet, anything, run a clinic on the weekends, please feel free to reach out. I'm more than willing to travel there and share my knowledge.
Awesome. And so on Facebook is Will Avery Basketball Academy on Facebook and IG. And then the website is willaverybasketballcamps.com.
CampwithanS.com. Yeah, correct.
Oh, camps with the S. Okay, got you. And so I'll have all of that information in the show notes, fellas. So make sure to click on it. Make sure you follow Will. And again, you can also Google Will Avery and you'll see clips and this and that. And you'll see some of his story. But when you connect with him, let him know you heard the deep dive about him on Black Fathers Now. And so So, brother, man, I really appreciate you, man, for taking time to share with us, to walk through your story, to inspire the brothers, man. Is there anything, that you'd like to say to the fathers that are out there listening?
Just keep being there, man. Just keep being there. We got to continue to show up. It's important, not just for our own kids, because I know, like myself, sometimes we take on that role for other kids. With this basketball academy, I've done that a lot. So just keep being there, keep showing up, because what we don't know is that there's some kid, he's looking up to us, the way we take care of our family, the way we're there for our kids. Maybe he doesn't have anybody like that now, but maybe that's what he wants to be.
Mm,
So, and that's how it happened for me, because when you're young, man, the things you see, sometimes you think that's the way life is, because most of us are a product of our environment.
mm,
And so what we see is what we think is the real world. And so it wasn't until I was about 10, 11 where I seen God, head of the household, really take care of his family and do things the right way, you know. And then that's what I aim to be. So again, man, keep being there, keep showing up, uh, keep doing it, man. And you know, sometimes we all know the saying, it takes a village.
mm-hmm,
I know I've played that role for not only mine but several others, and I think they're gonna be better for it, for
mm-hmm,
me being there. Yeah,
Fellas, be there.
yeah,
Listen to Will, be there.
yeah.
That's it. That's it. So, fellas and the Black Fathers Now family, let's thank my man, William Avery. Augusta, Georgia is in the building. Make sure to follow William Avery Basketball Academy on Facebook and Instagram. Also, visit WillAveryBasketballCamps.com. That will be in the show notes. Check him out, connect with him. When all the COVID-19 stuff is lifted and you're looking to connect and bring folks out or explore opportunities for camps or bringing them out to speak, connect with him, man. The brother is knowledgeable. He has lots of good stories, lots of good insight. But the biggest thing is he has the heart for this, and he's doing it because somebody did it for him. So make sure to reach out to him, connect with him. And as always, make sure to visit blackfathersnow.com. Subscribe via Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, iHeartRadio, YouTube. Anywhere you listen to podcasts, subscribe, share, leave ratings on this, but then also continue to share with other brothers who are out there. If you have someone who has a kid that's playing sports, who's thinking about doing things professionally in sports, whether it's as an athlete or on the business side of things, make sure that they hear this episode, because we'll drop some gems. All right. So, fellas, man, until next time, y'all be blessed, well, and wise. And I'll holler at you. Peace.